Captain Han Minho stood on the observation deck of the Sejong, watching Earth die below him. The planet that once shone blue and green now looked sick. Brown clouds covered most of the surface. The oceans had turned gray. He could see the massive dust storms even from orbit. "Captain, the readings are getting worse," said Lieutenant Park Ji-yeon from behind him. She held a data pad in her shaking hands. "The oxygen levels dropped another 2% this month. The crops are failing faster than we predicted." Minho nodded slowly. He had seen the reports everyone had. 2.3 billion people still lived down there. Once there had been 11 billion. The rest were gone, starved, suffocated, dead from diseases that spread when everything fell apart. "How long do we have?" Minho asked quietly. Ji-yeon looked at her pad. Her eyes were red. She had been crying again. Everyone cried these days. 6 months. "Maybe 8 if we're lucky." "Then the atmosphere won't support human life anymore?" The Sejong was humanity's last deep space vessel. They had others, but they were old, broken, or couldn't leave the solar system. This ship was supposed to explore, to find new worlds. Instead, it searched desperately for anything that might save them. They had found nothing. Minho turned away from the window. "Keep monitoring. I'll be in my quarters." He walked through the narrow corridors of the ship. The crew members he passed looked tired, hopeless. They all knew the truth. Humanity was dying, and there was nothing they could do to stop it. In his quarters, Minho sat at his desk and stared at the picture there. His daughter. She was 8 years old and lived in one of the sealed cities on Earth. The cities had clean air, but not enough food. She was hungry all the time. His wife sent him messages saying their daughter asked about him every day. He might never see them again. A sudden alarm made him jump. The ship's computer spoke in a calm voice. "Unidentified vessel detected. Distance, 4,000 kilometers and closing." Minho ran to the bridge. His crew was already there, staring at the screens. On the main display, a ship approached. It was small, maybe half the size of the Sejong. Its design was strange. Smooth curves instead of the angular human style. Soft green lights glowed along its hull. "Are they hostile?" Minho asked, dropping into his captain's chair. "No weapons detected, sir," said the tactical officer. "They're sending a signal. Wait. It's a greeting. They're trying to communicate." Ji-yeon moved to the communication station. Her hands flew over the controls. "I'm running it through the translation program. Give me a minute." The alien ship stopped a safe distance away. It just waited there, lights pulsing in what might have been a friendly pattern. "Got it," Ji-yeon said suddenly. "Basic mathematical language. They're asking if we need help." The bridge went silent. Everyone stared at her. "Help?" Minho repeated. "They're offering help?" "Yes, sir." They identify themselves as the Narim. They're mineral traders. "They came here looking for rare elements to mine, but their sensors detected our ship and Earth's condition. They're asking if we're in distress." Minho felt something strange in his chest. Hope, real hope for the first time in years. "Tell them yes," he said. "Tell them we need help desperately." Over the next 3 days, the Narim learned about humanity's situation. Their leader, a being named Varish, came aboard the Sejong. The Narim were small creatures, barely reaching Minho's chest. They had gray skin that looked like smooth stone and large, dark eyes. They spoke slowly through translation devices. Varish walked through the ship with Ji-yeon asking questions. What happened to Earth? Why couldn't humans fix it? Did they have the technology to stabilize their atmosphere? Ji-yeon explained everything. The pollution, the wars, the collapse of the ecosystem, how humanity had destroyed its own world and now faced extinction. Varish listened quietly. When Ji-yeon finished, the Narim leader was silent for a long time. "We understand," Varish finally said. "Long ago, the Narim nearly destroyed our own world. We were saved by others who showed us mercy. Perhaps it is time we showed the same." "You'll help us?" Ji-yeon asked, hardly daring to believe it. "We are a small people," Varish said. "We have little compared to the great powers of the galaxy. But what we have, we will share. Our atmospheric stabilizers, our genetic repair knowledge, star charts to systems with resources you need. It is not much, but perhaps it is enough. Minho was called to the meeting room. He sat across from Varish and listened as the Narim explained what they could provide. The technology to clean Earth's air, medical knowledge to help humans adapt and survive, directions to asteroid fields rich with materials they desperately needed. What do you want in return? Minho asked carefully. Nothing was free. Everyone knew that. Varish made a sound that the translator called a laugh. Return? We ask only for friendship between small peoples. The great powers of the galaxy do not notice us. We Narim are too few, too weak to matter. But perhaps humans and Narim can be friends. That is enough. Minho felt tears on his face. He didn't try to hide them. You're saving our entire species. Billions of lives, and you ask only for friendship? Is friendship not valuable? Varish asked. It is, Minho said. He stood and placed his hand over his heart, then extended it to Varish. The Narim looked at Jian, who quickly explained the gesture. Varish mimicked it. I make a vow to you, Varish of the Narim, Minho said formally. Humanity honors every debt. What you have given us today, we will remember. Our children will remember. Their children will remember. One day, when you need us, we will come, no matter the cost, no matter the distance. We will repay what you have given us. There is no debt, Varish said gently, only friendship. For you, perhaps, Minho replied. But for us, there is always a debt. And humans always pay their debts. The Narim stayed for 2 weeks. They transferred their technology. They taught human engineers how to use the atmospheric stabilizers. They shared their medical knowledge. They provided star charts and safe routes through space. When they prepared to leave, the entire crew of the Sejong gathered to see them off. Minho shook Varish's hand one final time. Thank you, he said simply. You saved us when no one else would. Be well, humans, Varish replied. May your world bloom again. The Narium ship departed, its green lights fading into the darkness of space. Back on the bridge, Jian stood next to Minho as they watched the alien vessel disappear. Captain, she said quietly, I've been documenting everything about them, their language, their biology, their culture, every detail I could learn. Why? Minho asked. They're traitors. They'll probably never come back this way. Jian looked at him with determined eyes. Because one day we might need to help them. And when that day comes, we'll need to know everything about the people we owe. Minho smiled. It was the first real smile he'd had in months. Good thinking, Lieutenant. Make it thorough. Make it complete. Humanity honors every debt. Below them, Earth began its long journey back to life. And somewhere in the depths of space, the Naren continued on their way, thinking they had done a small kindness for a dying species. They had no idea what they had actually done. They had given humanity something to fight for, someone to remember, a debt to repay. And humanity never forgot its debts. Admiral Kang Deho stood in the secure facility deep beneath Seoul's restored forests and stared at the wall of screens before him. Each screen showed a different star system, different ships, different training exercises, all of them completely secret from the rest of the galaxy. Status report, he said calmly. Commander Byun Taijin stepped forward with his datapad. Fleet construction is at 97% completion. We have 283 warships fully operational. Another 17 will be ready within the month. All crews are trained and ready. Daho nodded. His grandfather had been Captain Han Minho, the man who first met the Narim 80 years ago. Minho had died 20 years back, but not before making sure his family understood the importance of the debt humanity owed. And the defensive systems? Daho asked. Complete, Byun said. Every technology has been designed with Narim physiology in mind. Our weapons avoid wavelengths harmful to them. Our ships can carry Narim refugees with proper life support. Our medical bays are stocked with Narim-compatible supplies. Everything is ready. Daho allowed himself a small smile. 80 years of preparation. My grandfather would be proud. A young officer approached quickly. Admiral Ambassador Choi is here to see you. Send her in. Ambassador Choi Hyrin entered the command center. She looked tired. She had spent the last month at the Coalition of Minor Species Assembly, watching helplessly as the galaxy ignored the Naran crisis. "They won't help," she said without greeting. "The Vren Empire is taking Narim worlds one by one, and no one cares. The Narim are too small, too unimportant. The major powers say it's not their concern. How many Narim worlds have fallen?" Deho asked. 3 now. The Vren are moving toward the core systems. The Narim have maybe 2 months before their homeworld is threatened. Hiren sat down heavily. "I tried everything. I called in every favor humanity has earned. But the truth is, we're still seen as newcomers, barely a century since we almost went extinct. No one takes us seriously." "They will," Deho said quietly. Hiren looked up at him. "What are you saying?" Deho gestured to the screen showing the hidden fleet. "Look around, Ambassador. What do you see?" Hiren's eyes widened as she took in the scope of what she was seeing. "This is... how? How did we build all this in secret?" "Carefully," Ben answered. "We built the ships in deep space. Trained crews in isolated systems, every human involved signed agreements. We've spent 11% of our total economy on this for 80 years. 3 entire generations working toward one goal. To save the Narim," Hiren whispered. "To repay our debt," Deho corrected. "The Narim saved us when we had nothing, when we were dying. They asked for nothing in return. That is exactly why we must give them everything we have." Hiren stood and walked to the screens. She saw thousands of people working, training, preparing. Ships larger than any humanity had revealed to the galaxy. Weapons technology that shouldn't exist yet, all of it hidden. "All of it waiting. The galaxy will think we're insane," she said. "Probably," Deho agreed. "They'll say it's inefficient. Illogical, a waste of resources. But that's because they don't understand what it means to be human. And what does it mean?" Hiren asked. Deho touched a screen and an image appeared. An old photograph. Captain Han Minho shaking hands with Varish of the Narim. "It means we remember every kindness, every mercy, every debt, and we repay them all, no matter how long it takes." An alarm suddenly blared through the facility. A communications officer shouted, "Admiral! Incoming message from the Narim." "It's a general distress call." Everyone in the room went silent. The message played through the speakers. A Narim voice, translated by their computers, spoke with barely controlled panic. "This is Elder Koresh of the Narim homeworld. We send this message to all species who might hear it. The Vren Empire has declared our extinction. They say our worlds are worthless, but our minerals are valuable. They will take everything and leave us to die in space. We have no military, no way to fight. We ask for help. We ask for mercy, please. We do not want to die." The message ended. Silence filled the command center. Hiren looked at Daho. "When do we move?" "Now," Deho said. He turned to Byun. "Activate protocol remembrance. Contact all fleet commanders. We launch in 6 hours." "Yes, sir." Byun saluted and rushed to his station. Deho walked to the communications station himself. "Open a direct channel to Narim homeworld. Maximum priority." Encoded in their old dialect, the officer worked quickly. "Channel open, sir." Deho spoke clearly. "Elder Koresh, this is Admiral Kong Deho of the Human Defense Fleet. We received your message. We remember what the Narim did for humanity 80 years ago. We remember that you saved us when no one else would. We remember that you asked for nothing in return." He paused. "We are coming. Hold on." Humanity honors every debt. He closed the channel before Koresh could respond. 6 hours later, the hidden fleet began to move. 300 warships emerged from secret bases scattered across isolated systems. Each ship was crewed by men and women who had trained their entire lives for this moment. Many were grandchildren of the survivors the Narim had saved. The fleet gathered at a rally point just outside Narim space. Deho stood on the bridge of his flagship, the Remembrance. Around him, his officers worked efficiently. They had practiced this 1,000 times. "All ships reporting ready, Admiral," his tactical officer reported. "Course laid in for Narim homeworld," the navigator added. Deho looked at the star map. The Vren Empire had forces surrounding most Narn systems. They had cut off trade routes, blockaded worlds, started the slow process of extermination. "Open a channel to all ships," Deho ordered. "Channel open, sir." Deho spoke to his fleet, to the thousands of humans who had dedicated their lives to this moment. Today we reveal ourselves to the galaxy. Today they will learn what humanity values. They will learn that we do not forget kindness, that we do not ignore debts. The Naren saved us when we were nothing, when we had nothing. They asked for only friendship. He paused, looking at the faces of his bridge crew. Young and old, all determined already. Today we show them what human friendship means. Today we repay our debt. All ships jump to Nareem space. Let's bring our friends home. The fleet jumped together, space twisted and bent. 300. Warships vanished from their position and reappeared in Nareem space, directly between the Vren forces and the Nareem homeworld. On the Nareem homeworld, Elder Koresh stood in the council chamber, preparing for the end. The Vren had given them 1 day to surrender. 1 day to accept extermination or flee into space with nothing. Then a junior aide burst into the chamber. "Elder, ships! Hundreds of ships just appeared in orbit." Koresh felt his heart sink. The Vren had come early. It was over. "They're not Vren," the aide said, confused. "The identification codes say they're human." Koresh stared. "Human? But humans are traitors. They have no military." "They barely have 50 ships total." "I know what the records say, Elder, but there are 300 warships in orbit right now, and they all say they're human." Koresh rushed to the orbital control center. On the screens, he saw them. Massive ships, far larger than anything in the human merchant fleet, armed, armored, powerful. A message came through. A human face appeared on the screen. Strong features, determined eyes. He spoke in perfect Nareem dialect. "Elder Koresh, this is Admiral Kangdeho of the Human Defense Fleet. 80 years ago, you saved us. You asked for nothing. But we are humans, and we remember everything. We have been preparing for this day since you left Earth. We will not let you die. We are here, and we will not leave." Koresh felt something he hadn't felt in months. Hope. "How?" he asked simply. Deho smiled. "Humans honor every debt, Elder, and we repay in ways no one sees coming." Fleet Admiral Song Myray watched the tactical display as 300 human warships formed a perfect defensive wall between the Vren forces and the Narim homeworld. She stood on the Bridge of the Gratitude, the largest ship humanity had ever built. Around her, the crew worked with calm precision. "Vren Commander is hailing us," her communications officer said. "He sounds angry." "Put him through," Myray ordered. The screen showed a Vren commander. The Vren were large beings, twice the size of humans, with armored skin and multiple arms. This one wore the medals of someone who had conquered many worlds. "Unknown vessels," the Vren commander said. His translator made his voice sound harsh. "You are interfering in Vren Imperial business. Identify yourselves and withdraw immediately or be destroyed." Myray smiled coldly. "This is Fleet Admiral Song Myray of the Human Defense Fleet. We are not unknown. We are humans, and we will not be withdrawing." The Vren commander looked confused. "Humans? The traitors? You have no military. Our intelligence shows you have barely 50 merchant ships. You're lying." "Your intelligence is 80 years old," Myray replied. "We've been busy. These are our ships. This is our fleet. And we are placing ourselves between you and the Narim worlds. If you want to hurt them, you'll have to go through us first." The Vren commander laughed. It was an ugly sound. 300 ships? We have 800 in this sector alone. You cannot win? Leave now, and we will spare you. "No," Myray said simply. She closed the channel. Her tactical officer looked worried. "Admiral, they do have superior numbers. And the Vren are experienced warriors. We've never fought a real battle. We've trained for 80 years, Myray said, against simulated Vren tactics. We know their every move. They know nothing about us. That's our advantage. Captain Lee Junho approached from the rear of the bridge. He commanded the Special Operations Division. His entire team had spent years studying Narim culture, learning their language, understanding their needs. "Admiral, permission to begin evacuation operations?" he asked. "Granted. Take your ships in. Get as many Narim civilians off the surface as possible. Prioritize the young and the sick." Junhono saluted and left quickly. 30 specialized transport ships broke formation and headed for the planet's surface. The Vren commander appeared on screen again, not waiting for permission this time. "What are you doing?" "I ordered you to leave." "You ordered," Murray agreed. "We declined. Now we're evacuating civilians. If you attack us while we're saving innocent lives, the entire galaxy will know what kind of monsters you are." The Vren commander's face darkened with rage. "You dare? You're protecting them? They're worthless, weak. They have nothing of value except their minerals." "They have value to us," Murray said. "More value than you could possibly understand." She closed the channel again and turned to her crew. "All ships, battle stations. Shields to maximum. Prepare defensive pattern gratitude 7. The fleet shifted smoothly. The ships moved into a formation that looked wrong to anyone who understood standard military tactics. They left gaps, created overlapping fields of fire, positioned themselves in ways that seemed inefficient, but it was perfect for one thing: protecting the Narim homeworld while evacuating civilians. On the surface, Captain Junho's transport ships landed in the major cities. The Narim stared in shock as human soldiers emerged, speaking their language perfectly. "We're here to help," Junho said to the gathered crowd in the capital city. He spoke in the old Narim dialect, the formal one used for important occasions. "We're taking you somewhere safe. Please the young and sick first. We'll come back for everyone." Elder Koresh approached him. The old Narim moved slowly, his stone-like skin showing cracks of age. "Why?" he asked simply. "Why would you do this?" Junho knelt so he was at Koresh's level. 80 years ago, my great-grandmother was dying on Earth. She was a child, sick from the bad air, starving. The Narim gave us the technology that saved her life. She grew up. She had children. They had children. I exist because of your kindness." He gestured to his soldiers. "Every person in this fleet owes their life to the Narim. We're just repaying the debt. We asked for nothing," Koresh said. "We know," Junho replied gently. "That's exactly why we're giving you everything." Above the planet, the Vren fleet attacked. 800 warships opened fire on the human defensive line. Energy weapons and missiles filled space with deadly light. The human shields flared and held. The strange formation suddenly made sense. Every gap was covered. Every overlapping field created redundancy. If one ship's shields failed, 2 others were positioned to protect it. "Return fire," Murray ordered calmly. "Target their weapon systems only. We're not here to kill. We're here to protect." The human fleet fired. Their weapons had been carefully designed over decades of research. They hit with incredible precision, disabling Vren weapons but avoiding critical systems. The Vren commander was stunned. His fleet had superior numbers, but the humans fought with a precision he'd never seen. Every move was calculated. Every shot perfect. "What kind of military training produces this?" he demanded of his officers. "Unknown, Commander," his tactical officer replied. "They fight like they've studied us for years. They know our tactics better than we do." And they had. Every simulation, every training exercise, every strategy session for 80 years had focused on one thing: how to fight the Vren without becoming like them, how to defend without destroying, how to win while protecting those who couldn't protect themselves. On the surface, the evacuation continued. Human soldiers moved through Narim cities, helping civilians board the transports. They carried the sick. They guided the frightened. They spoke words of comfort in perfect Narim. One young Narim child asked a human soldier, "Why are you helping us?" The soldier, a young woman named Kim Yuna, smiled. "Because you helped us once. And humans never forget." But I didn't help you, the child said, confused. Your ancestors did? That's enough. The child thought about this. Will you remember me too? Yes, Yuna said seriously. We'll remember you. We'll remember every Narim we meet today. That's what humans do. We remember. Back in space, the battle raged on. The Vren were growing frustrated. They couldn't break through the human lines. Every attack was countered. Every strategy anticipated. The Vren commander opened a channel to his superiors. Request reinforcements. These humans are different. They're not fighting like new soldiers. They fight like they've been preparing for this specific battle for years. They have, said a voice behind Myre. Admiral Kongdeho had arrived on the Bridge of the Gratitude. Prepare the message. Myre nodded. A channel opened to all ships in the system. Both human and Vren, even the galactic observers who had appeared to watch. Deho spoke clearly. Commander of the Vren fleet, hear this. 80 years ago, when humanity was dying, the Narim saved us. They asked for nothing in return. They showed mercy to strangers. They gave freely when they had little to give. He paused. We have spent 80 years preparing to return that mercy. We have built this fleet specifically to defend the Narim. Our weapons are designed to avoid harming them. Our ships are built to carry Narim refugees. Our soldiers are trained in Narim language and culture. The Vren commander appeared on screen, shock clear on his face. You built an entire military force just to save one minor species? Yes, Deho said simply. That's insane. The resources, the time, the cost. It's inefficient beyond measure. Perhaps, Deho agreed. But we are human. We don't measure debts in resources. We measure them in lives saved, in kindness shown, in mercy given. The Narim saved billions of us. So we will save all of them if we must. The Vren commander stared. You're willing to fight an empire for them? We're willing to do whatever it takes, Deho replied. You have a choice. Withdraw now, or learn exactly what humanity is willing to do for those we owe. The Vren commander looked at his tactical displays. His fleet outnumbered the humans, but they couldn't break through. The humans fought with perfect coordination, with technology that shouldn't exist, with a determination that made no logical sense. This is not over, the Vren commander said finally. The Empire will return with more ships. Then we'll be waiting, Myre said. We've been waiting 80 years. We can wait longer. The Vren fleet withdrew slowly, maintaining defensive positions as they left. They didn't run, but they didn't attack either. On the Narim homeworld, the evacuation continued through the night. Jinho and his teams worked tirelessly. By morning, they had saved 50,000 Narim civilians. The transports carried them to safe systems. Far from Vren space, Koresh stood with Junho as the last transport prepared to leave. You've changed everything, the old Narim said. The galaxy watched. They saw humans willing to fight for us. They saw your ships, your power, your dedication. Good, Junho said. Let them see. Let them understand what humanity values. What do you value? Koresh asked. Junho looked at the Narim elder with sincere eyes. You, every Narim, every being who showed us kindness when we had nothing. That's what we value. That's what we'll fight for. Koresh made a sound that translated as gentle laughter. We gave you some technology and directions. You've given us hope. The debt is already repaid. No, Junho said firmly. The debt is never repaid. It's honored. Every day, forever, that's what it means to be human. Director Im Jiwon stood before the Galactic Council, facing representatives from 47 species. The massive chamber was designed to make individuals feel small. She didn't feel small. Behind her, displayed on enormous screens, was the full documentation of Project Gratitude. You claim this is about honor, said the Tethran representative, a being that looked like floating crystals. We say it's about power. You built a secret military and hid it from the galaxy. This is a violation of the Transparency Accords. We never signed the Transparency Accords, Jawan replied calmly. Humanity wasn't part of the galactic community when those were written. We were dying on our poisoned world. The Vren ambassador stood. He was even larger than the military commanders, his armor decorated with conquest medals. You have made an enemy of the Vren Empire? For what? A species that controls 12 worthless worlds? This is stupidity. Is it? Jawan asked. She gestured to the screens behind her. Let me show you exactly what we did. Then you can judge if it's stupidity. The screens changed. Images appeared. Documents, videos, 80 years of records. In 2187, humanity was dying. Our population had crashed from 11 billion to 2.3 billion. Our atmosphere was toxic, our food supplies failing. We had maybe 6 months before total extinction. Jiwan's voice was steady. Then the Narim arrived. A species most of you have barely heard of. They were mineral traders. Small, unimportant by galactic standards. She paused, looking at each representative. They saw us dying. They could have ignored us. They could have taken what they wanted from our dead world and left. Instead, they helped. They gave us atmospheric stabilizers, medical knowledge, star charts. They asked for nothing in return except friendship. The screens showed the images. Captain Han Minho shaking hands with Varish. The Narim ship sharing their technology. Earth's atmosphere slowly cleaning. 3 years after the Narim helped us, humanity recovered enough to think about the future. We held a global referendum. Every human voted on one question: how should we repay the Narim? The Tethran representative made a sound of confusion. You voted? For 80 years of military buildup? Yes, Jiwan said. 92% of humanity voted to dedicate resources to protecting the Narim. 11% of our total economic output. Every year. For as long as necessary. Dr. Nam Hyunwoo stood from his seat in the human delegation. He was the galaxy's leading expert on human psychology. If I may address the council? The council leader gestured approval. Hyunwoo walked to stand beside Jiwan. The council seems confused by human behavior. Let me explain. Humans have a cultural trait that many species lack. We call it reciprocity. When someone helps us, we feel compelled to help them in return. Not because of law or contract, because of something deeper. Emotions are inefficient, the Tethran representative said. Perhaps, Hyunwoo agreed, but they're real. When the Narim saved us, they didn't just save our bodies. They showed us that the universe contained mercy. That strangers could care about strangers. This created a debt that goes beyond economics or logic. He brought up more screens. We spent 80 years preparing. We studied the Narim, every detail of their biology, culture, language. We analyzed galactic politics to predict what threats they might face. We identified the Vren Empire as the most likely aggressor. Then we built a fleet specifically designed to counter Vren tactics while protecting Narim lives. The Vren ambassador snarled. You studied us like prey. No, Hyunwoo said. We studied you like a problem to solve. The problem was, how do we protect the Narim from you? The answer took 80 years to build. The council chamber erupted in discussion. Representatives argued in dozens of languages. Some were horrified at the resources humanity spent. Others were impressed by the dedication. A few were frightened. The representative from the Kelsh Unity spoke. The Kelsh were known for their logical approach to everything. This is fascinating from an anthropological perspective, but it creates a problem. If humans respond this way to small kindnesses, what would they do for larger ones? Excellent question, Nuwan said. She brought up a new screen. This is our debt registry. It's a complete database of every time another species helped humanity. Trade agreements that favored us when we were weak. Medical exchanges, cultural sharing, technology transfers. Everything. The screen showed hundreds of entries, thousands, each one documented, each one remembered. We remember all of it, Jiwan said quietly. Every species that helped us when we had nothing. Every merchant who gave us fair prices when we were desperate. Every diplomat who spoke for us when we had no voice. The Kelsh representative's voice was careful. And you intend to repay all of these? Yes. Silence fell over the chamber. The implications settled on everyone present. That's... The Kelsh representative started. That's unprecedented. The resources required. The time. The commitment. We're aware, Jiwan said. We're human. This is what we do. A new voice spoke. Small, quiet, Elder Koresh had been given permission to address the council. He stood at a special podium designed for beings of his size. Great powers of the galaxy, Koresh said. You debate human efficiency, human logic, human wisdom. Let me tell you what I see. He gestured to the human delegation. I see a species that was dying that we helped with barely a thought. It was a small thing for us. A minor mercy. His voice grew stronger. They made it everything. They spent 3 generations preparing to protect us. They built a fleet that could have conquered worlds, and they used it only to save lives. They fought the Vred Empire and targeted only weapon systems. Not to kill, just to protect. Koresh looked around the chamber. You call this inefficient? I call it beautiful. You call it illogical? I call it hope. Because if humans can dedicate themselves this completely to repaying a small kindness, imagine what the universe could become if everyone did the same. The council was silent. Koresh's words hung in the air, then something unexpected happened. The representative from the Palin Collective stood. The Palin were a minor species, barely noticed by most powers. I wish to share something, the Palin said. 30 years ago, human traders helped our colony world when disease struck. They had no obligation, no contract. They simply helped. We've always wondered why. She looked at Jiwan. Now I understand they were practicing, learning how to help. Even then, they were preparing to be the kind of species that keeps its promises. Another representative stood, then another. Small species, minor powers, beings that the great empires barely noticed. Humans taught my species about crop rotation when our world was failing, said one. Human doctors saved my colony from plague, said another. Human engineers helped us build water purification systems, said a third. 15 species in total, all with stories of human help. All suddenly understanding that humanity had been helping them for decades. Quietly, without fanfare. Building relationships that might one day matter, the Vren ambassador realized what was happening. They're building a coalition. Minor species that owe them favors. No, Jiwan corrected, they owe us nothing. We helped because it was right. But now they understand what human friendship means. Now they know that if they ever need help, we'll remember. The Kelsh representative spoke again. You're changing the power structure of the galaxy, not through conquest or threat. Through reciprocity? Yes, Jiwan said. We call it the doctrine of reciprocity. Help will be remembered. Mercy will be repaid. Kindness will be honored. This is what humanity brings to the galaxy. The Vred ambassador stood abruptly. The Empire will not tolerate this. You're gathering allies against us? We're not gathering anyone, Yanwu said. They're choosing. You rule through fear and force. We're offering something different. Partnership, friendship, the certainty that we'll remember and return every kindness. The Vren ambassador stormed out. His delegation followed, the council leader. An ancient being from a species that had seen empires rise and fall, spoke for the first time. This is unprecedented. We must discuss the implications. Take your time, Jiwan said. We've waited 80 years, we can wait longer. But while you discuss, know this. Humanity will continue to honor its debts. All of them, to every species, for as long as we exist. After the council session, Jiwan met with the representatives from the 15 minor species who had spoken. They gathered in a small meeting room, away from the grand chambers. Thank you for speaking, Jiwan said. The Palin representative smiled. We spoke truth, but I must ask, you really remember all the times we've helped you? Every single time, Jiwan confirmed. Want to see? She brought up the detailed records. Trade agreements, medical exchanges, cultural programs. Every interaction documented. The representatives stared in amazement. This is insane, one of them said, but also wonderful. It's human, the one said simply. This is who we are. This is who we choose to be. The Palin representative spoke carefully. If the Vren attack the Narim again, we'll defend them, Jawan said. They'll bring more ships. Many more, then we'll bring whatever it takes. The representatives looked at each other. Something unspoken passed between them. If that happens, the Palan said slowly, know that you won't stand alone. We minor species remember too, perhaps not as thoroughly as humans. But we remember who helped us when we needed it. Yuan felt tears in her eyes. You don't owe us anything? The Vren Empire returned with overwhelming force. 2,000 warships emerged from jump space around the Narim homeworld. They had brought half their military might to crush the humans and complete their conquest of Narim, space. Admiral Kangdeho stood on the bridge of the Remembrance and watched them arrive. His fleet of 300 looked pitifully small in comparison. They're hailing us, his communications officer said. Put them through. A Vren High Commander appeared on screen. His armor was ceremonial, decorated with the bones of defeated enemies. Humans, you had your warning. Now you face the full might of the Vren Empire. Withdraw or be destroyed. No, Deho said simply. The Vren commander looked shocked. You have 300 ships. We have 2,000. This is suicide. Perhaps, Deho agreed. But we made a promise. We don't break promises even when they cost us everything. You would die for them? The Vren commander gestured toward the Narim homeworld below. For this worthless species? They're not worthless to us, Deho said. They're the species that saved us when we were dying. That makes them more valuable than all the Empire's conquered worlds combined. The Vren commander closed the channel. His fleet moved into attack formation. Then something unexpected happened. New ships began appearing. Jump signatures lit up the darkness of space. Not Vren ships. Different designs. Ships from dozens of species. The Palan Collective arrived with 50 warships. The Kelsh Unity brought 70. The Tarim Alliance contributed 40. Species after species emerged. Minor powers that the great empires barely noticed. All of them positioning themselves alongside the human fleet. Deho stared at the tactical display. How many? His tactical officer's voice was shaky with emotion. 372 ships, sir. From 17 different species? They're all transmitting the same message. We remember. Premier Shin. Yuna's voice came through from Earth. She had been watching the situation unfold. Admiral, you have permission to accept all assistance. Acknowledged, Premier. The Palan commander opened a channel. Admiral Deho, 30 years ago, humans helped my people during a plague. You asked for nothing. We're here to return that kindness. Another voice. The Kelsh Unity leader. Humans taught us new farming techniques when our colonies struggled. We owe you. More voices. More species. All with stories of human help. All there to repay? The Vren High Commander watched in disbelief as his numerical advantage disappeared. The combined fleet now numbered 672 ships. Still outnumbered, but no longer helplessly so. This is impossible, he said to his officers. How did they coordinate this? They didn't, Commander, his intelligence officer replied. Each species came independently. They weren't ordered. They chose? On the Narim homeworld, Elder Koresh stood in the council chamber watching the orbital displays. Tears ran down his stone-like face. They came. All of them came. Not just the humans? Others who learned from their example. Captain Li Junho stood beside him. Reciprocity spreads, Elder. That's what humans have been teaching. Help others. Remember kindness. Honor debts. Now other species are learning. The Vren fleet attacked. 2,000 warships against 672. It should have been overwhelming. It wasn't. The combined fleet fought with coordination that shocked the Vren. Each species covered the other's weaknesses. The humans provided tactical coordination. The Kelsh contributed their shield technology. The Palans shared their advanced sensors. Together they were more than the sum of their parts. Fleet Admiral Song Myre commanded the defense. She watched her screens as the battle unfolded. All ships pattern Delta 7. protect the evacuation transports. Because even during the battle, humans continued evacuating Narim civilians. Junho's teams worked on the surface, moving people to safety while weapons fire lit up the sky above. The Vren couldn't break through. Every assault was countered. Every tactic anticipated. They had experience and numbers, but the defenders had something stronger, purpose. Hours passed. The battle raged. Ships on both sides took damage. Some were destroyed. People died defending the Narim homeworld. On Earth, in the capital city, a memorial service began even as the battle continued. Premier Shin Yuna stood before a crowd of billions and spoke. Today, our brothers and sisters die in space. They died defending people they never met, repaying a debt from 80 years ago. Some will call this foolish, wasteful, illogical. She paused. But this is what makes us human. This is what makes us worthy of the mercy the Narim showed us. The names of the fallen began to scroll on screens across Earth. Every casualty. Every sacrifice. Kim Tae-yeon, age 24, engineer on the vessel Gratitude. He honored the debt. Park Soyeon, age 31, medical officer on the transport New Dawn. She honored the debt. One by one. Each name read aloud. Each life remembered. In space, the Vren High Commander watched his forces fail to break through. He contacted his emperor. Your Excellency, we cannot win here. The humans have rallied the minor species. If we continue, we'll take massive casualties. The cost is too high. The emperor's voice was cold. You're saying we should withdraw? From an inferior force? I'm saying we're not fighting an inferior force. We're fighting an idea. And ideas are harder to kill than ships. The emperor was silent for a long moment. Withdraw. But remember this, the humans have made an enemy today. With respect, Excellency, I don't think they care. The Vren fleet began to pull back, slowly, maintaining formation. Not defeated, but choosing to leave rather than continue a battle they couldn't win. As they withdrew, the combined fleet didn't pursue. They held their position, protecting the Narim homeworld. When the last Vren ship jumped away, a cheer went up across the defending fleet. But it was a quiet cheer, respectful. They had won, but people had died for it. Dr. Nam Hyunwoo's voice came through on the command channel. All ships, the Narim homeworld is secure. Begin recovery operations. The evacuation transports continued their work. By the time the sun rose on the Narim homeworld, 200,000 civilians had been moved to safety. The cities were emptier, but those who remained were protected by 600 ships in orbit. Elder Koresh met with the leaders of all 17 species that had come to help. The meeting took place on a human ship in a conference room designed to accommodate many different physiologies. Why? Koresh asked simply. We are nothing. We have nothing to offer you. Premier Shin Yuna, attending remotely from Earth, answered. You offered us everything when we had nothing. That's worth more than all the resources in the galaxy. The Palin commander added, and the humans taught us something. They taught us that the small can matter. That kindness is worth remembering. That debts of honor are the only debts worth paying. Koresh looked at the human leaders. You've changed the galaxy, not through conquest, through example. That was always the plan, Yuna said softly. 80 years ago, my great-grandfather was saved by your people. He was just a child dying on a poisoned earth. Your mercy gave him a future. Gave all of us a future. She paused. We wanted to repay that. But we also wanted to show the galaxy a different way. Show them that power doesn't have to mean domination. That strength can be used to protect. Over the next weeks, the combined fleet helped rebuild Narim defenses. They shared technology, provided training, established trade agreements that favored the Narim. More species arrived. Not to fight, but to help. The doctrine of reciprocity spread across the galaxy. Species that had once ignored each other began forming partnerships. Not based on power or fear, but on mutual aid and remembered kindness, the Galactic Council held an emergency session. The council leader spoke to the assembled representatives. Something fundamental has changed. The humans have introduced a new principle into galactic relations. They call it reciprocity. Others might call it radical kindness or strategic mercy. Whatever we call it, we must acknowledge its power. The Kelsh representative stood. I move that we formally recognize the doctrine of reciprocity in galactic law. Let it be known, acts of mercy will be remembered. Kindness will be honored. Debts will be repaid. The vote was unanimous. 50 years later, the galaxy looked different. The Federation of Remembered Peoples included 43 species, all of them committed to the doctrine of reciprocity, all of them remembering that humanity had shown them a better way. The Narim had rebuilt and thrived. Their population doubled. Their technology advanced. But more importantly, they had friends. Real friends who remembered. On Earth, in the Garden of Remembrance, a new monument stood. It showed Captain Han Minho shaking hands with Varish of the Narim. Below it, an inscription. They helped us when we were dying. We remembered when they needed us. This is what it means to be human. Elder Koresh, now ancient even by Narim standards, visited Earth one final time. He stood before the monument with Premier Shin Yuna, now elderly herself. Your species changed everything, Koresh said. Your species saved everything, Yuna replied. We just honored that gift. Will humanity always be this way? Koresh asked. Will future generations remember? Yuna smiled. Watch. A group of human children approached on a school trip. Their teacher pointed to the monument and spoke. This is Captain Han Minho. When humanity was dying, he met the Narim. They saved us. We spent 80 years preparing to return that kindness. Can anyone tell me why?